Ethan's youth was filled with light and strong faith. He once thought love was the most sacred thing, an invisible thread connecting two souls, with the power to overcome all challenges in life. When he fell in love with Camilla, Ethan loved with all his heart, without reserve, without conditions, and without hesitation. In his eyes, she was the embodiment of perfect beauty, beautiful, charming, and shining in the upper class with a luxury and elegance that everyone admired. Camilla's smile was the bright sunshine that lit up the dark days in Ethan's life, and her voice was as gentle and smooth as a warm jazz tune that stirred his heart. At that time, Ethan was a talented young businessman, owning a chain of million-dollar real estate, handsome and attractive. He had enough money to pamper his lover, taking Camilla to lavish parties, luxurious vacations, making her the queen of his life. His trust was absolute. Camilla loved him not for money, because when we truly love, we want to believe in sincerity rather than lies. However, life is not the sweet love songs Camilla often heard. One fateful day, Ethan's company faced a serious crisis after a failed acquisition. Accumulated assets, contracts, projects, in the blink of an eye evaporated like smoke. Ethan was left penniless, burdened with huge debts, and people who once respected him gradually turned their backs and avoided him. That day, he called Camilla with all the hope of holding on. She arranged to meet him at a quiet cafe, no longer as luxurious as before. Ethan arrived, his eyes filled with pleading, hoping to receive words of comfort, of support. But her cold eyes and indifferent voice were like sharp knives stabbing into his heart. "Ethan," she said, her voice light and businesslike, "you're a good man. But good isn't enough. I can't trade my future for someone who has nothing left." His heart stopped beating for a moment. "What are you talking about? You said, as long as I'm by your side, nothing else matters, right?" Camilla laughed, a cold, sarcastic laugh. "That was when you had fancy dinners and fancy cars. Now, you're not the man I loved. I can't be the wife of a loser." Those words, like a strong slap to the heart, made Ethan collapse. He did not expect that the woman he once loved and trusted completely would easily abandon him just because of his poverty. Even though he tried to hold on, even though he held her hand tightly with a sea of pain in his heart, Camilla still calmly left, without looking back. Ethan sat alone in the cold cafe, his heart broken into 1,000 pieces that could never be mended. From that day on, he became a different person. Quiet, withdrawn, the pain of love had killed his faith. He threw himself into work, like a madman, not because of ambition but to heal the pain deep in his soul. But not only love, but also his career collapsed at the same time. Ethan was left with nothing. No more assets, no more power, and his reputation had faded. He was forced to work for a small real estate company, a place he had previously ignored. He started from scratch, working as a consultant, calling each client, running each small project, going through nameless days of hardship. The small rented room in the suburbs, with peeling walls, a rickety kitchen, and a simple bed. All were like a trench that helped him practice perseverance and determination. Every day, he faced scrutiny and sneers when they found out that he used to be the boss and was now an employee. But Ethan did not let himself succumb to that hurt. He remembered every painful moment when he didn't have enough money to pay the bills, when he had to eat instant noodles mixed with watered-down coffee, when he couldn't sleep worrying about the future. His eyes were sunken, but inside, the fire of determination still burned brightly. He told himself, "I have to start over. I have to stand up." During the day, Ethan knocked on doors, called customers, was rejected, and abandoned. At night, he studied finance again, wrote plans, researched the market, and built new strategies. Old friends helped him, and Ryan, his closest friend, always stood by his side as an invaluable source of encouragement. "You still have yourself, your intelligence, and your strength. I know you will get up." Ryan once said that on a long, cold night. Those lonely, miserable days made Ethan lose weight, his skin pale, but his eyes became sharper and his spirit became stronger. Every step was a victory over himself. An opportunity came when the company assigned him to manage a small project. This was a big turning point. Ethan focused all his knowledge and experience in negotiating, managing, and building relationships with partners and customers. The project was successful beyond expectations, helping improve his position in the company. The leaders began to trust him and assign him more important projects. Then he discovered a potential piece of untouched land in the suburbs. Despite many people's doubts, Ethan persisted in convincing the board of directors to invest. He used all his connections to find reputable contractors and suppliers, and built a tight-knit team. The project was completed on schedule, with outstanding quality, creating a buzz in the market. The successful project helped Ethan get promoted to project development director. He did not stop there. He founded a small investment fund, raised capital from trusted investors to develop more large-scale projects. From an employee, he became an independent businessman, building a new empire for himself. After 5 years, Ethan not only regained his assets and reputation but also emerged stronger than before. His projects spread throughout the surrounding areas, bringing in great profits and reputation. Financial magazines called him the man who returned from the abyss, a symbol of extraordinary will and determination. But inside his heart there was still an emptiness. The old love wound had never healed, the trust in promises and sweet smiles had died. Ethan knew that his success was not for anyone else but himself. He chose to live alone in his heart, carrying with him a valuable lesson: true love is rare, and not everyone deserves it. But he will keep going. Because his resilience has made him the man that today, no one can deny. Despite his brilliant career comeback, Ethan still carries deep wounds from the past. Success cannot erase the lonely days, cannot replace the emotional loss that once brought him down. The hard days of working for hire, the sleepless nights of planning, all still exist in his mind as undeniable proof: life is never easy. Then one hazy autumn afternoon in New York, when the chilly wind began to creep through the streets, the sky was covered with a thin layer of gray clouds, the pale sunlight dyed the leaves changing colors along 7th Avenue, Ethan stepped out of an old taxi in a simple ash-gray suit. Today was not a tense and powerful board meeting, but a small event, a drawing workshop to raise money for disadvantaged children. He wasn't sure why he agreed to join. Maybe it was because Ryan, his best friend, kept reminding him, "You need to find something that makes your heart less cold, less ice." Maybe deep down, Ethan also longed to find some warmth in the glamorous but cold world he was living in. The exhibition room was small and simple with a few dozen guests, mostly parents and eager children. Children's paintings with innocent and genuine colors were hung everywhere, not elaborate but touching the depths of the viewer's soul. As Ethan was staring at the painting of a leaning house with the scrawled words "Home is where Mom is," a clear female voice rang out from behind him. "That picture is of Tommy. He lived with his grandmother since he was little. Every time he drew it, there was only a faint shadow of his mother in the distance." Ethan turned around and met the gentle, delicate eyes of a woman wearing a long, dark brown dress, her hair tied loosely at the nape of her neck. She wore no elaborate makeup, but her eyes exuded an unusual sincerity and gentleness. "I'm Eva, your art teacher. Thank you for coming," she smiled and held out her hand. Ethan shook her hand, slightly surprised by her firm, warm grip. "I'm Ethan. I just happened to stop by, I didn't expect the paintings to hold me so long." Eva smiled, her eyes lighting up. Children's drawings never lie. They draw what they lack or what they love. Ethan felt a sinking feeling in his chest. He looked at her more closely, not the one trying to impress or preach, just a sincere woman, living by her convictions and a full heart. The two began to talk. Ethan told of his college days, when he had loved drawing but had given up because he was so caught up in work and ambition. Eva listened, without judgment, simply a respectful presence. "Aren't you curious about me?" Ethan asked, his eyes filled with a hint of shyness. Eva tilted her head, smiling gently. "I care more about what people say than who they are. Everyone deserves to be heard." For the first time in years, Ethan felt strangely lighthearted. Without pressure, without defense, he spoke out what had been hidden. Eva was silent at the right time, nodded at the right time, and smiled comfortingly when needed. The exhibition ended, and the two stood outside the lobby. The sunset dyed Eva's hair golden, creating a gentle scene that made Ethan forget all the hardships of his life. He hesitated and asked, "Eva, if I want to hear more of what you have to say, and also want you to hear things I've never told anyone, can I buy you a coffee?" Eva looked at him and nodded slightly. "As long as you don't order an expensive cup of coffee that takes a month to think about, I agree." Ethan laughed, a real, warm laugh, different from the dry days in his soul. After the exhibition that day, when Ethan returned to his familiar office, he carried an indelible image in his mind: Eva's gentle appearance, sincere smile and gentle eyes like warm sunlight filtering through the autumn leaves. The feeling that he thought he had lost for a long time now flared up like a small flickering flame in the cold sea of his soul. He had met many women, successful, individual, charming and full of confidence. But Eva, with her simplicity, sincerity and lack of pretense, was completely different. She did not need to try to be special, because her naturalness, frankness and kindness made her an irreplaceable part of his memory. That night, as the night fell and the streetlights glinted through the windows, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Eva. Every time he recalled her voice, her eyes, the way she talked about the children, he felt something inside him begin to stir, not for fame or money, but for a pure connection, a spark of hope in the midst of brokenness. 2 days later, in a bold decision, Ethan sat in front of his phone screen, typed each word and sent a simple message. "I have an idea. If you agree, I would like to invite you to collaborate on a community art project. Call me if you are interested." He pressed send and sighed, wondering if Eva would respond. But a few hours later, his phone rang. Eva's message appeared: "If it's a project to help children, I'd love to hear from you." Ethan's heart suddenly beat faster, a small joy crept in, awakening him after months of darkness. They met again, but no longer in the exhibition space with its paintings and dim lighting. This time, the meeting took place in a small cafe on the second floor of an old building, where it was quiet and smelled of cinnamon. That space was just enough for open and deep stories. Ethan carefully presented his new project, a community art space located within the Nova Hotel chain, for children in poor rural areas where art is still considered a luxury and not essential. He talked about his desire to create a creative space where children can freely draw, explore and heal their souls through art. Eva listened, her eyes shining with undisguised emotion. "You really want to do this? Isn't it just to build the company's brand?" she asked, her voice soft but sincere. Ethan smiled. For the first time there was a hint of sincerity in his voice. "I used to think so. But after meeting you, I realized that there are values greater than profit." Eva said nothing more, just nodded. It was a sign of trust and understanding. They shook hands and started a new journey together. The project site was a small valley in Vermont, where maple forests are ablaze with red and yellow in the fall, and fields of wildflowers stretch out at the foot of the hills. Ethan owns an old resort here, which has long been abandoned and no longer in use. Instead of demolishing and rebuilding, he decided to renovate the land into an art and meditation space for children. Eva was almost lost in her work. She proposed the idea of an outdoor freeform art class where children would use natural colors, leaves, earth, light, to create art, connect with the world, and heal their souls. Ethan was in charge of the organization, sponsorship, and promotion. But really, what he cared about most was Eva's presence. Every day, he often went to Vermont not only for work but also for another secret reason: standing on the wooden porch, watching her teach children to draw, listening to the clear laughter echoing in that peaceful valley, he felt an unprecedented peace in his heart. One bright autumn afternoon, as the golden sunlight spread across the valley, Eva sat under a maple tree, her pencil gently gliding over paper. Ethan approached and sat next to her. "What are you drawing?" he asked, his voice soft and careful. Eva replied without looking up. "I am drawing a silhouette. A person who seems strong but is actually very lonely." Ethan was speechless. "Can I guess who it is?" Eva smiled softly, her eyes gentle. "No need to guess. You're sitting here." They were silent together. There was only the sound of the wind gently blowing through the leaves of the forest, the scent of damp grass in the air. Ethan squeezed the wooden cup in his hand lightly, his voice low. I forgot this feeling a long time ago. The feeling of wanting to stay. Eva turned around, her eyes gentle. Then don't leave anymore. Her words were like a door opening slightly, not a loud invitation, but a gentle invitation for him to enter a new space, not of pretense or the stage of life, but a place where he could live truly, could trust and be loved. Ethan nodded slightly. In the middle of a peaceful valley far from the city, there was no fame, no glory, no money, only a man who had been hurt slowly learning to open his heart again, and a woman as gentle as the wind, patiently by his side. After many peaceful months with Eva, Ethan once thought that the painful past had finally slept in the layers of time. The warm sunshine of new love, Eva's sincere tenderness seemed to have filled the cold void in his heart. But deep inside, Ethan did not expect that when people began to open their hearts to care again, at the same time, new fears also arose. The ghosts of the past had not disappeared. One chilly fall weekend morning, as Ethan finished inspecting the newly built classrooms on the edge of a Vermont valley, his phone rang with a text message from his former secretary, who had followed his every move through the ups and downs. Camilla is on the talk show Old People, new stories this week. She mentioned you. Below the message was a link to the show's trailer. Ethan stared at the screen, his gaze lingering longer than usual. Half of him wanted to delete the message, to leave it as if it had never happened. But the other half, filled with curiosity and unease, couldn't resist clicking. Camilla's face appeared on the screen, still sharp, proud, a symbol of success and power in the fashion world. But this time, her eyes no longer shone with unparalleled confidence but seemed carefully programmed, her voice slow and careful. My life was once tied to a very good man, who loved me very much. But when he was no longer the best version of himself, I was forced to choose a different path. Ethan's blood froze. Painful memories flooded back, the moment he stood watching Camilla's back as she walked away, without turning back, her cold words echoing in his ears, "You're not worthy of me anymore." That afternoon, Eva came to see Ethan to discuss the summer camp program for children. But instead of his usual cheerful and focused demeanor, Ethan acted strangely, spoke little, and had a dull, unfocused look in his eyes. Eva quickly sensed something was wrong with him. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft but full of concern. Ethan forced a smile and shook his head. "I must have had trouble sleeping last night. There are some company matters that are giving me a headache." Eva did not ask further. She was not a prying, controlling woman. But in her heart, anxiety gradually grew. It was the intuition of a woman who had just begun to love, knowing when the heart of the person she loved was in trouble. That evening, Ethan sat alone in front of the window of his small wooden room in the valley, looking up at the pale moon above the dark treetops. The shadows of the trees were long like scratches on his memory, old wounds not yet healed, fears not yet gone. He picked up a pen to write down some ideas for tomorrow's meeting, but his hand shook uncontrollably. He thought of Eva, her smile as she sat drawing on the grass, her soft voice talking about her motherless pupils. She was not like Camilla, not at all. But he was afraid that, no matter how different, it would all be the same in the end. Ethan said to himself, "What if I'm only nice to you when you still have something to give?" Just then, the phone vibrated. It was a text message from Eva. "I baked gingerbread and left some outside the door. Maybe it will help you sleep better." Ethan opened the door. A paper bag sat neatly on the small wooden step outside, the sweet smell of gingerbread wafting through the air, as warm as Eva's hand. He paused, a feeling of confusion rising up. Camilla had also left chocolate when he was stressed, had texted, "Sleep well, I know you're tired." But then Camilla had left, without a word of goodbye, leaving only an unhealable wound. Ethan clenched the bag of cookies in his hand, his mind in turmoil. He didn't know what to do with the fear growing in his heart, if he could trust and open up again. And at that moment, Ethan realized something even more terrifying. The old wounds had never disappeared, they still existed, silently waiting for the opportunity to sow doubt, making him doubt even the best things. He lay on the bed, staring at the dark ceiling, his heart filled with a wordless battle between pain, doubt, and desire for love. "Are you sincere? Or will you leave when I am no longer the perfect man?" he asked himself silently. But then, in the quiet of the night, the faint light from the desk lamp shining on the pages of the plan, Ethan told himself, "No matter how scared I am, I will not let the past control me anymore. This time, I will allow myself to believe in Eva, believe in myself." Ethan had no choice but to test the woman he had begun to trust. He could not continue to be afraid, doubtful and cautious, because his once broken heart needed a true affirmation more than any promise. Therefore, he decided to take a bold step, pretend to be bankrupt, completely penniless, with nothing left in his hands to see how Eva would treat him. Early one morning, Ethan sat in a small rented room tucked away in a quiet alley in Brooklyn. The room was simple with an old wooden table, a few books, and weak sunlight filtering through the window. In front of him was a pile of documents that Ethan had signed and meticulously forged: bankruptcy notices, land titles for sale, property transfer contracts. All aimed at creating the perfect cover for his fake failure. "It's not much of a stretch to actually go bankrupt," Ethan thought to himself, "but it's not easy to fake it so well that Eva will believe it." In the past, he was a wealthy businessman, his hotel chain stretched across the city, luxury cars, designer clothes. But now, he will give up all of that, becoming just a freelance electrician with a rented house, an old car, living the most simple life possible. One afternoon, Ethan stood on the sidewalk waiting for Eva at her teaching place, wearing a simple shirt, old jeans, his hair a bit messy, and holding a worn backpack. Eva stepped out, her eyes looking at him without any suspicion. "How have you been?" Eva asked, her voice as soft as the autumn breeze. Ethan chuckled, "I'm still fine, not much work, so it's okay." Eva looked at him intently, then smiled, "You seem much different than before." Ethan looked straight into Eva's eyes, trying to hide his deep feelings. "I have changed a little. I want to live a simpler life." During the following days, Ethan lived his true life as a neighborhood electrician, going to Eva's classroom to help fix old equipment, helping organize art classes for children. He did not hide the fact that he was not rich, did not use the signs of his old success to please Eva. One evening, while Eva and Ethan were sitting drinking coffee at a small cafe nearby, Eva asked, "Do you feel scared living this simple life? Do you ever feel lonely?" Ethan looked at the hot cup of coffee and smiled slightly. "Everyone feels lonely at times, but sometimes, living simply gives you freedom. You no longer have to worry about your image in the eyes of others, you no longer have to force yourself to maintain your position." Eva nodded, her eyes sparkling with something both gentle and profound. Ethan realized that he was living in a different time, not one of dazzling glory but of small, simple, yet meaningful moments. But inside, a question still lingers: does Eva love him for who he really is, or is it simply sympathy for him when he is empty-handed? One time, while she and Eva were fixing a classroom with a broken light, she suddenly asked, "Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to keep any secrets from me?" Ethan looked straight into her eyes and sighed. "I don't want to lie to you. But I also don't want to lose you because of my past." Eva looked at him for a long time and then gently replied, "I don't care about the past, as long as you are the real you." Those words rang deep in Ethan's heart, but he knew that for this challenge to be completely successful, he needed patience. He was determined to live truthfully, without hiding or pretending for another minute. Now, the challenge was no longer about pretending to be poor or rich, but how he and Eva faced the truth and built love from the simplest things. And so, Ethan embarks on the most challenging journey, to prove that love is not based on money or fame, but on a sincere heart. After deciding to pretend to be bankrupt, live simply and stay out of the limelight, Ethan entered a completely different life. He was no longer a successful businessman with a chain of luxury hotels, but just a freelance electrician living in a small rented house in a Brooklyn neighborhood. Every day, Ethan worked hard, repairing broken equipment in the area, from electric lights, sockets to small household appliances. Every time he brought his tools to the classroom where Eva taught art, She looked at him with a look that was both familiar and curious. Eva did not know the truth about Ethan's past, only saw a sincere, simple man, always ready to help people. She gradually considered him a trustworthy friend. One sunny afternoon, Ethan was sitting in the classroom repairing an old electric fan when Eva walked in, holding some drawings from the children. "How did you fix this fan so quickly?" Eva asked in surprise. Ethan smiled lightly. "It's just experience. I used to fix things around the house myself." Eva looked at him with sincere eyes. "Thank you for your help. I'm glad you're here." Ethan nodded, thinking to himself, "This is what I want to keep, simplicity, sincerity." Another day, when it was raining lightly, Eva invited Ethan into the classroom for some hot tea. The two sat facing each other by the window, the sound of rain pattering on the tin roof creating a peaceful atmosphere. Eva asked, "Have you ever thought about changing this life? Going back to the old days?" Ethan was silent for a moment, then sighed. "Yes. But right now, what I need is the truth. I want to know if you accept me, even if I have nothing left." Eva smiled, her eyes gentle. "I don't care if you're rich or poor. I just want you to be yourself." Those words were like a balm to Ethan's heart, but he knew the ordeal wasn't over yet. Over the next few days, Ethan and Eva grew closer. They went on picnics with the kids, painted outdoors, or simply sat around the campfire chatting on chilly nights. One day, while practicing singing with a group of children by the river, Ethan watched Eva smile at them, the light reflecting off her hair like the most beautiful painting. He thought to himself, "Perhaps this is the first time in years that I feel at peace." Eva saw Ethan standing a little further away. She approached. "Aren't you going to join the kids?" Ethan smiled. "I just like standing outside and watching. There is a very special feeling of peace." Eva gently held his hand. "You won't be alone anymore." Those simple moments gradually connected them, making Ethan no longer think of pretending to be poor as a secret but as a way to renew himself, to find the truth with the person he loves. Once, Eva asked directly, "Is there anything you want to tell me? I feel like you're keeping secrets." Ethan looked at her, eyes sparkling with tension but determination. "I am being real with you. I just want to test if you love the real me, even though I have nothing left." Eva said nothing, just looked at him with eyes filled with trust and understanding. As the days passed, Ethan knew he had chosen the right path. The challenge of pretending to be poor was not only to test Eva's love for him, but also a journey for him to learn how to live truthfully, not for fame or money but for himself. And so, Ethan and Eva began a new chapter in their lives, without flashy colors, just sincere feelings and simplicity, where two wounded hearts found each other in understanding and harmony. Every morning in the Vermont Valley, Ethan and Eva start their day with gentle steps on the dirt road covered with yellow leaves. There is no pressure, no calculation, just the simple closeness of two souls gradually opening up to each other. They walk together through the wild grassy fields, where the sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating shimmering streaks of light like dreams lit up by dawn. The chirping of birds, the gentle breeze carrying the scent of wildflowers and damp earth, all blended into a gentle, peaceful music, enveloping them. Ethan felt like he had found a part of the peace he thought he had lost long ago. The years of loneliness and hurt suddenly faded away when he saw Eva's gentle smile, saw her eyes light up every time she saw the children practicing drawing. One autumn afternoon, as the sun began to set below the horizon, the two sat on a large rock near the stream, holding cups of hot water. Ethan looked at Eva, his eyes filled with warmth. "I never thought a simple life could bring so many beautiful things." Eva turned around, smiling gently. "Peace is not something people seek far away. It comes from simple moments, when we know how to cherish every moment." They talked about little things, from their musical tastes, favorite books, to unfulfilled dreams. There were no hasty questions, no doubts, just sincere listening and understanding. One day, while sitting together at the old wooden table in the art classroom, Ethan helped Eva clean up the brushes and palette. Eva turned to look at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "I came here as a gift, not only for the children, but also for you." Ethan smiled softly, his heart filled with an indescribable feeling of warmth. Their friendship needed no promises, no titles. It was as natural as the cool autumn breeze, gentle and irresistible. As each day passed, Ethan felt he was no longer alone, no longer afraid of old wounds. In the evenings, as the campfire flickered, they told each other their own stories, their pains, their hopes, and their lessons learned. At one point, Ethan told of Camilla, his painful first love, and Eva listened with an open heart, without judgment, only understanding. Eva also shared about her single childhood, about her mother who taught her that true love is never based on material things. Those words made Ethan realize that he had found someone who could sympathize and share all the feelings in life. One day, Eva invited Ethan to join a picnic with the children in her class. They painted, sang, and played together under the blue sky. Ethan saw the innocent eyes and innocent smiles and told himself that life does not need too much luxury to be meaningful. He felt the change in himself. From a man who used to be suspicious and freeze his emotions, he now opens his heart, ready to accept the simplest and most genuine things. That friendship becomes a solid foundation for a love that can grow, not based on image or material things, but based on trust, understanding and sharing. And in Ethan's heart, every day with Eva is a day he learns to love again from the beginning, with all sincerity and courage. The simple days with Eva passed peacefully, but Ethan always had a deep fear in his heart. Would her feelings for him really last without material support? One autumn afternoon, as the sun began to set, Ethan realized it was time to take a step further to test the sincerity of Eva's love. He decided to pretend to be in financial trouble, not to play a trick, but to see how she would treat him without her former comforts. That morning, Ethan called Eva in a gentle but slightly hesitant tone. "Eva, I have something I need your help with today. I'm having trouble paying some repair bills. Can I borrow a small amount from you?" Eva did not hesitate to reply, her voice warm and without hesitation. "Don't be shy, I will help you. Money is not important, what is important is that you need help in difficult times." In the afternoon, Eva came to Ethan's small rented house, bringing a simple but nutritious dinner. She put the bag of food on the table and smiled lightly. "Just eat, I know you don't have much time to take care of yourself these days." Ethan looked at Eva with gratitude, but also a little confusion. He could not believe that such simple sincerity and concern could make his heart flutter so much. "Thank you, I really appreciate it." He held Eva's hand gently, as if afraid that the warmth was just an illusion. Eva smiled, her eyes gentle. "You don't have to go through it all alone. I'm here, by your side." In that moment, Ethan felt what he had longed for all along, a love that had no conditions, no demands, just simple presence and sharing. However, inside him, a dark side still reigns. He wonders if these acts of kindness come from the heart, or are they just pity for seeing him lost? Another evening, as they sat by the small fire in the log room, Ethan suddenly asked Eva, "Are you afraid that, when you know that I am actually rich and successful, you will feel deceived?" Eva looked at him intently, then sighed. "Honey, I don't care about what you have or not. I only care about who you are now. If I love you, it's because of you, not because of money or fame." Eva's words made Ethan tear up. He held her hand tightly, as if he wanted to hold on to this precious moment. But the ordeal didn't stop there. One day, when Ethan was embarrassed because he didn't have enough money to buy a birthday present for a girl in his class, Eva gently pulled some money out of her pocket and said, "Here, let me help you. It's the thought that counts." Ethan felt his heart suffocated by her tenderness and sincerity. He knew that every time Eva reached out to help, he wondered whether he should reveal the truth or continue to let things go on like this. Deep down, Ethan knew that Eva's kindness was the miracle that would heal his old wounds. But he also knew that the road ahead was long, and he needed more courage to open up completely. A simple life with small challenges like that has become the most genuine emotional picture, where two people who have been hurt find each other with sincerity, understanding and trust. One weekend afternoon, after finishing an outdoor art class with the children, Eva took Ethan to a quiet corner of her old resort. The soft sunlight filtered through the foliage, covering the ground with shimmering streaks of light like scattered pieces of memories. She sat down on a rustic wooden chair, looking out into the distance where the wildflowers were still blooming gently, then turned to Ethan with a warm yet thoughtful gaze. "Ethan, I want to tell you a story about my past," she began, her voice soft but firm, as if to open a secret door she had kept hidden for so long. Ethan listened, his eyes focused, without a trace of distraction, as if every word Eva said could change the world inside him. "I grew up in a single-parent household," Eva continued. "My mother raised me and my younger sister alone. Life was not rich, but full of love and hard work. My mother always taught me that money is just a tool, not a measure of a person's worth." Eva remembers her childhood days, when her mother had to work hard at all kinds of jobs to be able to send her children to school. But deep inside her heart, there are still wounds that do not heal easily. "Once, my mother was deceived by the person she trusted the most. That story left a deep impression on me, making me promise to only trust my heart, never let money or material things control my life," Eva said, her voice tinged with sadness. Ethan was silent, feeling the sincerity and quiet strength in her story. He saw Eva not only as a teacher of art for children, but also as a brave woman who had gone through many storms but still kept her heart pure. "I don't want you to think of my past as a burden," Eva continued, "but rather as something that has made me stronger. I've learned to love without asking for anything in return, and to appreciate the simple things." Ethan nodded, his eyes softening. In that moment, he understood that Eva's sincerity was not just words, but a journey of life, a journey that he was also trying to follow. "Thank you for sharing with me," Ethan said softly. "I know that everyone has their own past, and it is those experiences that make us who we are today." Eva smiled, then gently placed her hand on Ethan's, "And that's why I want us to build a future together that is not bound by the past, but filled with faith and hope." They sat together in the quiet space of the valley, immersed in the birdsong and rustling leaves, feeling their connection grow deeper and deeper. Eva's past is not a dark curtain but a guiding light for a new love to blossom, where two people who have been hurt can reach out to each other with empathy and understanding. And in that moment, Ethan realized that it wasn't just him who needed healing, but that true love could be the most precious medicine for both of them. One chilly autumn afternoon, as the golden sunlight gently fell over the valley, Ethan and Eva were packing up their art supplies after a class when a man appeared nearby. It was Dr. Henry, Eva's ex-lover, a successful, elegant man with a confident smile and captivating eyes. He came to visit her, bringing a few bouquets of flowers and small gifts. Eva accepted it happily but not too warmly. Ethan stood silently to the side, his heart suddenly heavy, mixed emotions rushing back. Henry saw Ethan, giving him a polite but somewhat sharp smile. "Are you Eva's new friend? Nice to meet you." Ethan nodded, his voice soft. "I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you." In that moment, Ethan felt the difference. Henry had it all: looks, status, and a history with Eva. He, who lived simply, pretending to have nothing, suddenly felt small and insecure. Eva stood between the two, her eyes sparkling with tenderness. She said, "Henry, thank you for coming. I really appreciate what we had, but right now, I want to focus on the present." Henry smiled slightly, but his eyes were still searching. "I understand, Eva. I just want you to be happy, no matter who you are with." Ethan stood beside her, his heart filled with indescribable emotions. He wanted to step forward and explain everything, but he was also afraid of losing what he had. After Henry left, Eva looked at Ethan with understanding eyes. "You don't need to worry. The past is the past. What's important is that we have each other now." Ethan nodded, but inside, he still felt a little jealous, a little afraid. For the first time in years, those emotions were alive again strongly. He wonders, can true love overcome the ghosts of the past? Will he have the strength to keep Eva, the person he has devoted his life to protecting? That afternoon, Ethan stood by the window looking out at the forest, the sunset dyeing the sky a golden yellow, his mind filled with many thoughts. But one thing was certain: he did not want to lose Eva, the one who gave him new faith and hope. One chilly afternoon, As the afternoon sun began to color the Vermont valleys, Eva received a call from her mother. Her mother's voice rang out on the phone screen with a mixture of curiosity and gentleness that made Eva both surprised and a little nervous. "Honey, I was thinking about that guy you always mentioned. The guy you said was always there for you in your hard times," her mother said, her voice filled with concern and curiosity. "I want to meet him, invite him home to have dinner with our family." Eva smiled softly, her heart filled with an indescribable feeling. Although she knew her mother always cared for her and wanted the best for her, this invitation opened a new chapter in her relationship with Ethan. "I've been thinking about that too," Eva replied, her voice soft but firm. "I want him to know more about our family, too." Eva's mother loves warm family meals, where everyone gathers around a hot meal, telling each other stories of the day. And now, she wants Eva's special son to be welcomed in that space too. As the date approached, Eva excitedly shared with Ethan, "My mom wants to invite you home for dinner. I know this is very important to her, and it's also a step for you and her to understand each other better." Ethan looked at her, a warm smile spreading. "I'm so happy to meet your mother. I also want to be a part of the family, not just a normal friend." That evening, Ethan prepared his most simple yet elegant outfit, carrying a small bouquet of flowers chosen by Eva. He felt both excited and nervous about this important meeting. Entering the cozy home of Eva's family, Ethan was greeted by cheerful laughter and the aroma of traditional dishes spreading throughout the space. Eva's mother welcomed him with affectionate eyes, a gentle smile that melted all his worries. "Hello Ethan, it's so nice to finally meet you," she said, her voice friendly and warm. Ethan bowed politely, replying sincerely, "I am also very happy and grateful to be here." During the meal, they talked about all kinds of topics, from work, hobbies to everyday stories. Ethan felt the sincerity and acceptance of Eva's family, making him love the girl beside him more and more. Eva's mother asked Ethan carefully about his current simple life, and listened to his sharing with attentive eyes. She did not ask about his past or wealth, but only cared about his true personality, his sincerity, and how Ethan treated Eva. Eva looked at Ethan, seeing him more comfortable and natural than ever, like a real man integrating into her world. The evening ended in laughter and warm stories, leaving Ethan and Eva with a deep sense of peace, that they had taken another important step on their journey together. After leaving, Ethan held Eva's hand and whispered, "I know this is just the beginning, but I feel like I've entered a new chapter, where there is love and family." Eva smiled, her eyes sparkling with faith. "We will build that future together, one day at a time." After a warm meal with Eva's family, in the following days, Ethan began to feel more clearly the strong vibrations in his heart. His feelings for Eva grew deeper, but along with that was a lingering fear that constantly haunted him. He wondered if Eva's pretending to be poor and hiding the truth about her past would make her feel betrayed when she knew everything. Would her love for him be strong enough to overcome the layer of lies he was creating? One autumn afternoon, as the gentle sunlight streamed through the window, Ethan sat alone in his small rented room. He stared at the photo with Eva, her bright smile making his heart ache with love and worry. "What am I doing?" Ethan asked himself. "Am I putting myself and Eva in a risky game?" The painful memories of past betrayals resurfaced more strongly than ever. He remembered Camilla, the woman who had broken his heart and left him when he had nothing. That pain now seemed to replay once again in his mind. Ethan began to avoid meeting Eva, responded to her messages more slowly, and became less and less talkative around her. Eva sensed the change, her eyes worried and probing. One night, Eva decided to ask him frankly, "Is there something you're hiding from me? You're not the same as before, what are you afraid of?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes sunken and tired, his voice low and sad. "I'm afraid that I'm deceiving you, that one day you'll know everything and leave." Eva held his hand tightly and gently replied, "Don't think like that. I don't need you to be perfect, I just need you to be sincere with me." But Ethan knows that the truth always has its own weight. He can't keep hiding it forever, can't let love start with lies. The next day, he stood in front of the mirror, looked himself in the eye, and silently promised, I must tell Eva the truth. Even if it means losing her, at least I will no longer have to live in fear and lies. However, this was not easy. He was worried that he would hurt Eva, break the trust she had in him. He wanted to withdraw, to stay away, so that she could find someone more worthy. But his heart did not allow it. He still wanted to hold on to that love, wanted to overcome all challenges with Eva. During those lonely days, Ethan experienced intense conflicts between reason and emotion, between fear and hope. And then, he understood that only facing and being honest was the only way for both of them to find true peace. One winter morning, as snow gently blanketed the forests and valleys of Vermont, Ethan received a handwritten letter, the most unexpected and precious gift he had received all day. The letter was written on a piece of plain paper, the ink was still fresh, Eva's handwriting was soft but decisive, each word seemed to carry her whole heart. Dear Ethan, there are things that cannot be expressed in words, so I choose to write them down here for you to feel. I know you are carrying fears and doubts that the past has left behind. I don't expect you to be perfect, nor do I demand you to be the man of my dreams. I just want you to be yourself, the real man, with all the imperfections and flaws. I love the way you smile when you are with the children, I love the sincerity in your eyes when you help people with all your heart. I don't look at what you have or don't have, but at how you treat life and the people around you. He may have lost many things, money, fame, but he never lost who he was, and that was what mattered most. I don't know what the future holds, but I believe that if we keep our sincerity and trust, all challenges can be overcome. You don't have to pretend or hide anything from me anymore. I want you to know that no matter who you are, I will still choose to be with you, because I love you for who you are. Please open your heart and give me the opportunity to accompany you on the road ahead. Eva. As Ethan read each line, he felt a warm current spread through his heart, soothing his deepest wounds. His long-held fears and doubts seemed to disappear, replaced by new faith and hope. He sat silently in the small room, eyes filled with tears, hands trembling as he held the letter as if he were holding a priceless treasure. That letter was not only a confession, but also a testament to Eva's sincere love for him, a love not based on material things or external forms, but based on understanding and accepting each other's true selves. Ethan knew that he no longer had to hide, no longer had to pretend. Now was the time for him to face himself and Eva with all the truth. He decided to make an appointment to talk to Eva, to build a future with her without the darkness of suspicion and concealment. Eva's letter is a valuable reminder that true love is not about absolute perfection, but about tolerance and companionship through all the ups and downs of life. And for Ethan, this was the turning point that marked his spiritual awakening, the courage to open his heart and receive the complete love he deserved. Winter gradually crept into every corner of the Vermont Valley, the cold winds lasted longer, carrying a misty mist over the dark green forest. That was also the time when Eva decided to visit her mother, a short trip, but more meaningful to her than ever. Early that morning, Eva left the small house, carrying a light suitcase and a heart full of hope, promising to return soon to continue the journey of building the future with Ethan. Before getting in the car, she called Ethan. "Honey, I'm going to visit my mother for a few days. I'll contact you as soon as I get there." Ethan heard this. A bright smile appeared on his face, but deep inside he still felt a hint of anxiety, a vague feeling that could not be explained. Days passed without any news from Eva. Ethan's phone vibrated several times, but it was neither a text nor a call from her. He began to feel restless and impatient. Then one afternoon, while sitting in his office, Ethan received a handwritten letter, not from Eva, but from an acquaintance in the town where she came from. The letter was short but haunting. "Ethan, please be careful. Eva was involved in a traffic accident on her way to visit her mother. She is currently being treated at a local hospital. We will update you as soon as we have any news." Ethan's heart stopped. He sat up, filled with anxiety and helplessness. Everything before his eyes suddenly became blurry. He called the hospitals around the area repeatedly, but there was no exact information about Eva's condition. The minutes of waiting seemed endless. His mind was disturbed by countless thoughts, fear that she might be in danger, fear of losing the girl he had just found trust in. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan tried to stay calm, to arrange everything so that he could immediately go to Eva's side. But anxiety still haunted him. He could not stop thinking about the image of Eva happily with the children, her eyes always shining with hope. As the minutes passed, Ethan didn't know if this was the biggest challenge he had ever faced, or an inevitable turn of events in his life that he needed to bravely overcome. The pain and helplessness made him feel incredibly small, but it was also the moment he realized that love is not only about happy moments, but also about perseverance and commitment in the face of difficulties. He told himself, "I have to be by her side, no matter what happens, don't let her be alone." And so, with a heart full of determination, Ethan sets out, a journey not only to save Eva but also to save the love that is slowly growing inside him. The cold white light of the emergency room shone down on Ethan's tired but determined face. He sat by the hospital bed, his hand tightly holding Eva's small hand, who was sleeping soundly after hours of fighting the critical condition. The steady beeping of the machines was like the rhythm of life, making the surrounding space even more quiet and sacred. Ethan looked at Eva's gentle face, each gentle breath reminding him that she was still here, needing him. In his mind, the past days were like a slow-motion film, every simple moment together, every smile, every kind word. He remembered the handwritten letters she sent, each word seemed to penetrate deep into his heart, like a small fire warming his soul during the long lonely nights. "You have to wake up. You have to hear me," Ethan whispered, his voice choked. "I'm sorry for not telling you the truth sooner, for keeping you in the dark. I didn't want to lose you." Tears rolled down his cheeks, the clear drops as proof of his sincerity and deep love for Eva. A moment later, Eva opened her eyes and saw his face close by, his eyes still blurry but full of trust. She gently squeezed Ethan's hand, a faint smile on her lips. You came," she said weakly but warmly. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling like he was coming back to life, like he was given a chance to fix all the mistakes of the past. "I'm not leaving again, Eva. I'll be with you, no matter what," he said, his voice deep and sure. In that moment, amidst the silence and dim light of the hospital room, Ethan seemed to awaken from his long-held fears and doubts. He understood that love was not only sweetness, but also the strength to overcome all challenges. Their love begins a new journey, imperfect but filled with sincerity and unwavering faith. Eva lay in a hospital bed with her right leg carefully casted, next to a wooden crutch that she had to use to move slowly step by step. The injury from the traffic accident not only caused physical pain but also challenged the will of a woman who loved freedom and dynamism. Ethan was by her side at all times, like a strong shield protecting the girl he loved more than anything in the world. He did not hesitate to give up his job, devoting all his time to taking care of Eva, every meal, every sleep. Every morning, he arrived at the hospital before visiting hours, bringing Eva's favorite breakfast, soft bread, fresh fruit and a glass of sweet orange juice. He gently woke her up, wiped away any tears, and patiently helped her with her first rehabilitation exercises. "I know you're tired, but you're here, with me," Eva choked out once as Ethan helped her sit up. "Thank you." Ethan held her hand, his eyes filled with love. "I won't leave, no matter what happens." In the months that followed, Ethan became her friend and constant companion. He took her to physical therapy sessions, patiently encouraging her when she felt discouraged or in pain. He learned to help her bathe, change clothes, and even prepare her medications on schedule. Ethan not only took care of her physically, but was also a great source of spiritual encouragement. He told Eva funny stories, talked about the projects that were waiting for her to return, and dreamed of a bright future with her. Every time Eva was tired and wanted to give up, Ethan gently encouraged her. "You are not alone, I will always be here with you every step of the way." There were also times when, at night, the two of them sat by the window of the hospital room, looking out at the starry night sky. Ethan held her in his arms and whispered, "You are the most precious thing in my life. I will do everything to make you healthy again." As time passed, with Eva's devoted care and strong will, the wound gradually healed. After 3 months of persistent training and recovery, the day they had been waiting for finally arrived. Eva was discharged from the hospital, walking on crutches with Ethan's help. Her gait was still awkward, but the bright smile on her face made all the difficulties disappear. As she left the hospital, Eva turned to Ethan with gratitude and love in her eyes. "You gave me the strength not to fall. Thank you for everything." Ethan held her hand tightly, his heart filled with joy and hope. "We have overcome the biggest challenge together. Now it is time to start a new chapter, together and stronger than ever." After 3 months of caring for Eva and monitoring her recovery, Ethan knew it was time for her to return home to her mother, who would continue to care for her and accompany her on her journey to recovery. It was also when he was faced with an inevitable reality: there were some urgent issues at work, and he had to return to the city the next morning to deal with them directly. As the afternoon sun set over the Vermont Valley, Ethan drove Eva to her mother's house in his old car. The atmosphere in the car was heavy, as they both sensed the impending separation, though neither of them had said a word. Eva, her right leg still in a cast, rested her head lightly on Ethan's shoulder, her eyes closed as if wanting to preserve the peaceful moment with him. Ethan held her hand tightly, feeling the gentle warmth spreading between those tired hands. When the car stopped in front of Eva's mother's cozy house, she came out to greet her with a gentle smile, her eyes full of concern and warmth, which made Ethan feel somewhat relieved. She helped Eva out of the car, led her daughter into the house, and asked her about her health and the past few days. Ethan stood outside, his eyes following every gesture of care Eva gave her daughter, his heart filled with indescribable emotions. He knew he was about to leave her, but he had not yet finished saying all the unfinished things. Entering the living room, Eva turned to look at Ethan, her eyes filled with gratitude and worry. She took his hand, her voice as light as a breeze. "You're going back to the city? Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan brushed aside the emotions that were surging in his heart, giving a weak smile so as not to make Eva sadder. The company has some work that needs me to take care of. But I will be back as soon as possible." Eva frowned, her eyes filled with tears. "I will be fine. But don't forget to take care of your health." Ethan gently hugged Eva, letting her rest her head on his chest, feeling her steady breathing. He knew that this temporary separation was not easy for either of them, but it was inevitable. Before leaving, Ethan gently placed a passionate kiss on Eva's forehead, full of affection and an unspoken promise. "I love you, and I will come back to you." Eva watched Ethan's figure leave the house, filled with hope and a little anxiety for the upcoming reunion. Ethan left the Vermont Valley early the next morning, his heart filled with tender memories of Eva and her mother. His emotions were mixed between the confusion of leaving his beloved and the sense of responsibility that awaited him. He drove through the crowded streets, gradually entering the city center, where his life had always moved at a relentless pace. Entering the luxurious office building, Ethan immediately felt the pressure. Departments were facing many difficulties, projects were delayed, partners were asking for contract adjustments, internal staff were stressed because of strategic decisions. They all needed him, a strong leader with a strong spirit. As soon as he entered the meeting room, his colleagues' eyes turned to him as if waiting for a savior. Ethan shed his tiredness and replaced it with absolute concentration. He started the meeting with a decisive and inspiring voice. "We have encountered difficulties, but that does not mean we have failed. Every challenge is an opportunity for us to become stronger. I believe in this team and I believe we will overcome it." The next few hours were filled with discussions, strategic analysis, and quick decision-making. Ethan worked late into the night, constantly reviewing reports, contacting key partners, and tackling each issue with careful but decisive action. However, he still thinks about Eva often, her smile, her eyes, her resilience during the difficult days. That is the source of motivation that helps him to constantly strive, not afraid to face challenges. Ethan's life gradually returned to the hustle and bustle of work and responsibility. But this time, he was not only working for himself, but also for an important person waiting for him far away, for a future he wanted to build with Eva. And in those tense moments, Ethan always kept in mind the promise to return to his daughter, with a sincere heart and an unyielding spirit. 5 months after returning to the city, Ethan felt like he was lost in a never-ending cycle of work. Everything in the company was turned upside down, From human resources to business strategy, partners changing requirements, and the market constantly fluctuating. He had to devote all his energy, time, and mind to revive the empire that once seemed to have completely collapsed. Day after day, Ethan was immersed in stressful meetings, detailed plans, and endless phone calls. He could no longer call or text Eva as often as before, only sending short messages in the middle of the day or late at night, promising to visit her soon. Eva still waited patiently, keeping hope and love firmly in her heart. She often looked at her phone, waiting for each ding sound of a text message or call from Ethan, even though she knew his work was very busy. His short messages were like small rays of light that crept into her daily life, making her feel calmer and more confident in the future. But there were also times when she felt her heart sink when she heard his tired, somewhat anxious and urgent voice on the phone. During those days, distance and pressure seemed to increase the lack of intimacy, but never diminish the deep feelings between the two. Eva still kept her heart steadfast, and Ethan always carried her image in his heart, which was the motivation for him to persevere through everything. Until one day, when things in the company gradually stabilized, key projects were successfully resolved, Ethan decided to take a rare day off. He drove hundreds of kilometers back to the Vermont Valley, the origin of the simple but emotional love story between him and Eva. The road back to his hometown brought him a sense of relief, away from the noise and pressure of the city. The scenery on both sides of the road gradually changed. The vast fields, the hills covered with lush green trees made his heart strangely peaceful. When he arrived, Ethan didn't tell anyone. He wanted to make it a small surprise, to fully enjoy the moment with the girl he loved more than anything. The door opened, and Eva stood there, her eyes bright with surprise when she saw him. She ran over and hugged Ethan tightly, as if she wanted to hold on to his presence forever. "You're back," she said, her voice choked but filled with happiness. Ethan smiled, his heart filled with joy and gratitude at finally being back with the one he loved. They walked together through the familiar streets, where their footsteps had been in the early days of their relationship. The sunset dyed the sky red, blending with the chirping of birds echoing through the mountains and forests. Stopping by the stone bench under the old maple tree, Ethan gently held Eva's hand, his eyes filled with love and sincerity that could not be hidden. "Eva," he said, his voice trembling but determined, "over the years, I have faced many difficulties. But what makes me stronger is your love, your belief in me even though I am not perfect, even though I cannot always be by your side." Eva looked at him, her eyes glistening with tears, her heart felt like it was about to burst with happiness. Ethan pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it to reveal a simple ring that sparkled in the evening light. "Do you want to be my wife? I promise I will never leave you alone, I will always be by your side, take care of you, love you and cherish you for the rest of my life." Unable to contain her emotions, Eva nodded tearfully, her arms tightening around him. They kissed in a peaceful moment, filled with love and hope, under the golden sky of sunset, closing a difficult journey, opening a new chapter full of promise.